Hello, everyone, on a rare Friday night episode of Adam and Jake on the Movies. As always, I'm Jake.
Hello, everyone, on a rare
There's some.
Hey, do we have a delay?
Adam and Jake on the Movies.
I'm not sure what's going on here.
Jake, everyone, on a...
How about now? Problem fixed?
Nope, sounds good.
Good.
So, I'm Jake.
And I'm Adam.
I'm Lana.
And this is the movie show. So every week we watch a movie, and then we answer some questions. We talk about it, and then we see. Hopefully, you've all watched the movies with us, but if not, we're going to give some spoilers. So just FYI. And this week's movie, because we are wrapping up April tonight with what was April's theme? April thrillers.
Thrilling April.
April thrillers bring
all
May
blockbusters.
Spring
thrillers.
Spring thrillers. That's what I remember you guys.
Okay. And that's what we've been doing.
So we're closing out April with The Good Son, which was released in 1993, directed by Jeff Rubin, written by Ian McEwan, starring Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood. Do you have a synopsis for us?
I do not have a synopsis ready.
I will take care of that. A young boy stays with his aunt and uncle and befriends with his cousin and befriends with his cousin. I thought befriends was one word. Okay. A young boy stays with his aunt and uncle and befriends with his cousin, a boy of the same age who shows increasing signs of violent and psychopathic behavior.
Yes.
All right. So who had seen this movie? I had not seen this movie.
Did he really befriend him?
Not even from the beginning.
Well, he kind of did.
No. He was just open to that environment, but he didn't really befriend him. Like the very first relationship established was his protectiveness over the younger sister. Kind of, to a little bit.
I guess I could see that.
He actually
I don't know.
Connected with her a little bit more. The other one, it was always like a in-your-face weirdness, like first mask.
But there's that whole first montage before the sister even comes into it where they go out and throw those rocks against and shatter the windows, shatter the glass. There's a bit there, I don't know.
I don't know, but that could just be like that generic coming of age, like those standard little boys that age, those getting into mischief, running out in the woods, things do.
But that would be boys becoming friends, wouldn't it?
And then the mother, and that's, I don't know. It's just me.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just, that's the great thing.
I just blew your shit up.
No, that's the great thing about movies is that
no, you're wrong.
They could always be wrong and you can always be right.
So what was your first thoughts on the movie?
Yes, I had not seen this movie. I'd seen like tiny bits and pieces of it, but I had not seen this movie. My first thought was, as soon as the movie, because I had not seen it before, my first thought after the movie was over was, what happens next? This woman just let her child fall from a cliff, and the only witness was this other little boy. How does that play out in court? Like, what does she have to, like, now she has to deal with all this guilt. Like, to me, that's an interesting movie. Is to
replacing that one child with that other child that was better. Like, there you go. Like, I shouldn't even, I don't know.
Yeah, but that dynamic of like, I'm letting go of my child to save this other person.
The good one, the good son.
The good son is like, but the other thing is the cops show up and they're like, oh, well, I had to save one, so I decided to throw this one into the water. I'm like, what do the cops say to that? Okay, that's cool. Have a good day.
That's a very interesting. So, but that was your first thought. That was
That was honestly my first thought of the movie, is like, because I didn't know how it ended. I knew the bits and pieces of what the movie was going to be about, but once I saw that ending, I was like, that just that brought up more questions than it answered. So there's my, I thought, but
Actually, he said something about that. Like at the very end, he questioned me. He said, "Where was the mother's reactions?" And I kind of took up for her. I said, "See them? It's quiet. She's holding on. Obviously, there's like high emotion. She's reacting to that. She just had to make that choice." But he, in first like take from it, like at the ending, was that mother didn't even react.
Because we went back and we rewatched the last, that last little scene.
We watched it twice.
Yeah, and she does embrace him, and she does seem to care, but she's also could be in complete shock about what's just happened.
yeah,
So sometimes when you're in shock, you might not have those, quote unquote regular tears flowing, whatever. You could be shaking. You could be numb to the average person because you're in shock. You just let your son, plummet to the rocks below and become
yeah.
fish food. That's what you've allowed.
Which you have to think about too. Then
tried to kill her. Like,
yeah, 2 minutes before he tried to kill her.
Just purposely tried to throw me off that cliff. I managed to, Hulk strength, like back up, like Mama Bear strength, and then just get to, and then I had to make.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't know if it's that.
It's very complicated.
Like
Yeah.
She had good reason. He just tried to kill her, and the other one did not. To let him go. Sorry.
She did.
Let her not.
But she's still his mom.
Let her not. Like he tried to kill her.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's super complicated. And so the other thing about it is, which I'll say this, I think this is why I'm glad that the ending was she had to pick one or the other, because she always stands on the edge of the cliff anyway. So if it was between her and Macaulay Culkin, the good son, the bad son, I think she would have given up her own life. Maybe she does go to prison afterwards. But in that's a way, if she like kind of sacrificed her life to save, I don't know. But it was very, very, very complicated.
Yeah.
It's not as clean as the movie thinks it is.
It's interesting you bring up these points, because these are just points dealing with the ending of the movie. This doesn't really even get into the psychosis of the kid, the either kid.
Yeah, but it's such a powerful ending that I was not expecting at all. I was thinking to myself, how is Elijah Wood going to change this story? Like, how is he going to save the day? Thinking that he would be the one that would do it, and then when the mother did it, I was like, oh, this is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I like the ending or not.
Convince anybody, like his psychiatrist, mother, when he went to them.
His uncle?
His uncle kind of fell off. Like I told you about that. Like, where did he go? He disappeared at the end of the movie. You thought he would be.
That's true.
Was even there from the beginning to where he was in there, if there wasn't like. It didn't really wrap up his character to the main character story.
Right.
Like it was strange.
He was only there when he needed to be there. Yeah. So
I saw this movie as a kid. I saw this movie in the movie theater as a kid. And
what did you think?
I remember liking it, and I remember thinking of Macaulay Culkin in a different light, because you were singing in Home Alone, and, My Girl, things like that. And this was completely different. And Elijah Wood, this was the first movie that I had seen him in, and I knew that he was going to be a good actor as well. I thought the story was good. I really did like The Good Son. Which one are they talking about? Are they using The Good Son ironically in describing Macaulay Culkin, or are they using Elijah Wood as he is the good son that's going to be later replacing Macaulay Culkin?
Because he actually was not the perfect son. He wasn't really that good of a son. He might have been the more moral emotion, less troubled, although went through the most traumatizing events. He was the less troubled. although he was the one that experienced the traumatizing events. It was the other one that always had, he didn't have any history of something that would have affected him. Everybody had been good to him.
I don't know if I agree with that. If you think about it, though, you're talking about Macaulay Culkin's character not having anything. Now you have to think his younger brother he drowned his younger brother, which traumatized his mother in the same way Elijah Wood's character was traumatized by his mother's death.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take it just on a basis of a coming of age, because obviously the main characters are what? 11, 12, 13-year-old boys.
Yeah.
You're gauging those main characters to their, obviously they're expressing in their roles the main thing. I don't know. It's a coming of age. It's just a little strange or different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jake, what do you think? Like, I don't know. I'm just going off.
I'm trying to think of. It's such a weird movie because so Macaulay Culkin's character is the one that kills
Richard, his younger son.
So he's kind of a psychopath, but he's also super jealous, I'm guessing.
Yeah, because if he was jealous because if you remember, he had that little duck that his mother found in the shed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what started really the mother realizing, hey, something might be wrong with my son. Where were you when Richard was killed? And then he's like, let me have that duck back. It was mine before it was Richard's. And then he starts tugging back and forth. And that's when he runs back away.
I remember
being jealous. So he was originally jealous of Richard.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be something, but the duck is what triggered it.
Yeah.
And then the same thing when Henry was looking down, and his mother was, pretty much caring for Elijah Wood's character.
Mm-hmm.
He was jealous again there.
And with the sister, he was always jealous of the sister.
Because he wanted all the focus and attention apparently to be on him, which triggered him to be psychopath.
He was a
his trauma response and sympathy all comes within his own making. The other one was not. So he's like, well, I lost this. I don't know. Like it was
It's
a little bit more complicated in emotions, like how you would look at, well, your younger brother died. Well, actually, he caused that to happen. So everybody's treating him like maybe because of age or anything, because they didn't realize he had done those things differently. Like he wouldn't have that type of response to these circumstances, but this one over here that lost his mother and he's having to stay with relatives and his dad's off, like that's the one. That's
so
that you would guess, but I actually don't believe that Elijah Wood's character, I can't remember his name in the movie.
Yeah, it was Henry. Henry is the bad one. Mark is the good one.
Mark is Elijah
Mark's
Wood.
the good one.
Mark. And Richard's the little boy.
But like he wasn't really all that good. His trauma wasn't, but everybody believed that the other one's trauma wouldn't make him act out. So on a psychological level, so they were judging him and always believing Henry over Mark, just because they were like,
well, Mark.
I mean, Mark would have gone through a more traumatizing event, so it's him that must be having the psychological issues, and all of the adults treated him as such.
Yeah.
When in actuality, it was the other one.
Yep.
They refused to believe that.
So, all right, this brings up another question that I had about this film, and it also happens to be one of our questions for the thing. So are we saying that Mark is the main character? Elijah Wood's the main character?
I would say so.
Does he have an arc? Does he change from the beginning of the film to the end of the film?
He has to be aggressive in his goodness. Like he has to be aggressive towards the people that didn't believe him. He actually has to turn bad to make the other people, and aggressive to make the other people believe in the bad of the other one.
But okay, all right.
That's his true nature.
What would be bad? Like what? Like smash the window?
How he started to talk to them and started to get frustrated and all that. Like they wouldn't believe him.
So what at the beginning? So this is something that I struggle with. I saw him at the beginning where he's like a soccer player, and then he loses his mom, and then he goes to
Just
the,
quiet.
doesn't want to do bad things, whatever, or he's kind of playing around, whatever. But then at the end, he tries to save the bomb, which is again a throwback to the beginning. But at the same time, has he changed? Is he a different person at the end of the movie than he was at the beginning of the movie?
You know, I think that within the within the context of the story, he doesn't change. Within the context of the film, he doesn't change. If it continued afterwards, as alluded to in his last monologue, he has changed. How? I don't think that we know. Because
Yeah.
if you think of this, his mother has passed away. So that's happened recently. In just a few weeks, maybe his dad said at the beginning he'd be gone 2 weeks. So his mother passes away, and then within 2 weeks, all this other events, these events occur.
He might be.
So that's so I'm
might be in
sure
a padded room
that
at this
he has
point.
changed. How has he changed? Maybe the good son too. He's the psychopath this time.
Probably, and he has every right to be probably in it too. Though, all right. So here's what I think. So I was thinking about that, but I'm like, who does change in this movie? Henry doesn't change, but it's almost like Marty McFly in the first Back to the Future. Marty doesn't change from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, but everyone around him does change. And that's kind of similar with Elijah Wood's character. It doesn't change from the beginning to the end, but the mom makes a huge shift.
The mother does the most.
She really makes the biggest shift in the movie, and the movie's about her, which I. So yeah, that kind of is how I saw it, like shifting. So does the main character shift? I don't think so, but does she? Yes.
Because she's looking back, and not only has she lost her child, she's lost her other son due to the son that she just let drop. So
yeah,
she's
exactly.
Children, one in 6 inches of bathwater at the hands of Henry, which she let drop for Mark.
And the other, yeah, I was saying the other, she let go.
I agree with you, Jake. You're right. I want to see what happens after that. Let mother know with your shit.
You have to think of this also.
Anybody would lose their shit. Like,
seriously.
Aftermath of what just went down.
Well, also, she's going to be left with her thoughts because you have to think after the movie or at the end of the movie.
And the fault would be on her. Like, she could have been blown up on side.
Because Mark went back with his dad. She's there with her husband, childless. Richard's room hadn't been, it was the same as when he had died. Would Henry's room still be the same?
Wait, what happens to the girl?
She's in the hospital, and the last thing that said is she's going to be okay.
You don't hear anything.
So she still has the one child.
Yeah, she has the daughter.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say I thought the daughter was still there, but yeah, both the sons are gone. Yeah, that to me is. But I think that is so lost on the film, and I think the filmmakers did a really good job of downplaying that, because if not, it would leave you so I felt a little bit unsatisfied because I started thinking about those types of things. When the movie was over, I felt kind of satisfied, but then there was that lingering thing, and I'm like, I don't think most people would feel that, because I feel like the filmmaker did a good job of not putting that, like not asking that question, but I did, and I was just, I don't know. That what was that? That sounded like a good point.
Just getting into what you were just talking about, this movie actually was highly controversial coming out. There was a lot of flack that Macaulay Culkin was in that movie and his character, and in other different roles that you didn't see him as that negative or mean role. What was the line?
There was a line that said that a couple of, it was something I read you from a reviewer, wasn't it?
No, when it happened, he was probably 9, 10, 11. He used the word fuck.
Yeah, he does say the F word in the movie.
In one sense, line, that was catch-all. That catch-all is like you would, as a parent, would kill a child or make that decision. It was actually, it had negative reviews because of people strongly opposed.
The story told through children as well.
You're like, oh, why would you put children in that bad light? Like that's.
It only has 26% positive on Rotten Tomatoes.
Role, even though they said one cuss word and one sentence line in the whole movie, it got a lot of negative flack because of that.
And I forgot about Macaulay Culkin saying the F word, because you have to think he's at that time.
Really there were people that went to Congress.
He's the biggest child star at that moment.
Yeah, he had come off
All
of.
the kids wanted to see that movie, and that movie is rated R.
Yeah, he had come off of. He'd done Uncle Buck, Home Alone, My Girl, and Home Alone 2 when that movie came out.
So, well, The Good Son had come out before Home Alone 2 came out first. But this was an interesting side note. The only way Home Alone 2 was made was if Macaulay Culkin was able to do The Good Son. His dad had negotiated he will not do Home Alone 2 unless he's able to do it.
Oh. I didn't realize that.
That's why Home Alone 2 came about.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Because Home Alone 2
out as an adult, maybe his dad was like,
Home Alone.
I can't have him playing this character.
Well, all these movies, we were going to play the movie in the back, but they were 20th Century Fox movies, as is Home Alone 1 and 2. Home Alone 1 and 2, well, Home Alone, the first one, was the highest grossing movie of 1990.
Oh.
It cost $10 million, made over 300 worldwide. And the second one, they was going to be a moneymaker. This cost 17 and made 96 worldwide. A success, but not on the grand level of the Home Alones. But then they had Home Alone 2. That's a side note, however.
Still pretty good for an R-rated movie, though. Yeah. Spend 17 on it, make 90 some back.
Yeah,
that's. I mean, because you're talking about Home Alone's what PG, and at that point you've got anybody in the world can see it.
Yeah. What's another question we got?
Actually, yeah. All right. Let's.
People would have seen it, so we can appreciate it more now. There's more people seen it because it wouldn't be R today.
No, today it wouldn't be.
No, yeah, you're right. Because it only has the one.
Like, I mean, I can relate.
Yeah. I don't know. It might. I don't know. It being a child that said it.
That could be the only thing I think is that it was in children doing these acts. It does show briefly at the very end when his mother drops Henry, his body on the rocks bloody for like 1 or 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So let's go to favorite scene. Did you have a favorite scene? Can I talk about a scene that I hated?
Yeah.
Instead of a favorite scene? Okay. You guys go first, though.
You have a favorite scene?
No.
None?
I mean, like, storyline and dialogue and all of that was paid attention to, and I hadn't seen it for 20 plus years. I was busy doing other things. I wasn't able to like look into gauge favorite scene.
Right.
Other than that, I was listening. I wasn't exactly paying attention to visual.
I don't know if it's a favorite scene, but a scene that I did like is when Henry and Mark, they're out in the woods, and he has this little thing that shoots bolts, this little gun.
Oh, yeah.
And then Mark says something like, there's like a dog, or no, it's a cat. Is it a cat?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the first one's the cat.
Yeah. And he says, don't hurt her. And he says, and Mark is like, after he shoots it, goes right beside the cat's head. Mark says, oh, great shot. And then very quietly, Mark doesn't hear, he says, the sight's off or something like that. It's not just right yet, the sight's off. And I thought that was a very creepy, his expression was creepy, very subtle, but I thought very well acted on both of their parts. But Macaulay Culkin nailed that particular one line.
Yeah.
The facial expression.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I hated it, but I liked it all at the same time.
Hated?
No.
Okay.
Can I interject? Like, he did that. Macaulay Culkin actually, and being this is like first, other than like good image, like character movie, he literally, there were these very, very tense, pregnant, like uncomfortable extensions of like, I don't know, like the
brilliance.
Theme, dialogue, like pregnant pauses, to where it was like, it was like just a little bit past the point of that was kind of creepy.
It almost felt too real.
That was kind of creepy that he
I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that next. Let me do my scene that I hate, and then we'll open that part up. And that's how we'll finish it off that way, if that works for you all. Scene I hated was the first scene where they go up the treehouse.
Oh,
You're a parent, right? Yes.
I have a 13-year-old.
Would you ever let your child use that treehouse? Maybe you didn't see it. You might not have seen it because you were listening mostly.
No, yeah, like my tree houses were like sketchier than that. I'm not sure. Like
it was like 40. It was like 40 feet in the air.
it wasn't really tall treehouse.
No,
It was
like duckweed.
And it was like a couple of tiny little sticks to get up each one, and then all of a sudden, like you get to the bottom of it, and you have to like circle around the treehouse. You have to like be a Dominic Moceanu to get around into the treehouse. I was like, I'm sorry, and this is like right outside. Like this is like near their house. I'm like, I'm sorry. How is anyone in their right mind letting their child go into this treehouse? And here's the crazy part.
Who built it?
It's not like it's rickety and like worn out. It's like new wood. It's just like, and it's 400 feet in the air. I'm like,
I had shitty parents. Shitty parents. I'm like, yeah, that seems all legit. Like,
I was like, this is a massive hazard. It's poorly. I don't. It looked like it was. That to me was, when I saw that scene, I was like, they are trying so hard to push this creepiness and to push this thing that it took me out of the movie for a second, because I was like, this is filmmakers trying really hard to make the audience like kind of feel suspense. If they could have made that thing a little bit more normal, because at that point I was like, this is a movie. Like, I'm not watching real people doing real activities. This is a movie, because nobody would be okay with that.
Were you able to be pulled back in?
Weird, because I'm like, I had that shit.
Yeah. Okay. So this leads.
I do. Before it goes on, I did like when Mark falls, Henry catches him and he said, "If I let you go, do you think you could fly?" That was.
I like the foreshadowing of that. I like that, and I like that it came back into play at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so this leads us to final thoughts. I'll go first with my final thoughts, and then you guys can fish out. I thought it was worth the time. I thought it was worth actually watching it from beginning to end for the first time. Obviously I pointed out the issues that I don't think it was too long. I think there was just the right amount of time.
Hour and 27 minutes.
But I think the reason why I would say, if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it, is because Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin are so freaking good in this film. It's like they said, we have these two great actors, like kid actors, who have like crushed it in their careers, even beyond, well, Macaulay Culkin, but still he's done well.
Yeah.
But those two performances are worth all of the other junk that we've talked about in this episode. Those two performances, like Macaulay Culkin blows you away, but Elijah Wood is just so perfect too. And I've worked with child actors like 3 times in my life, and it's the hardest thing in the world to do. But those kids made it look seamless. Like, it was insane how good they are. So for that, go watch this movie. It's worth every second of it.
Lana, what's your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I enjoyed this movie the second time better than the first time. I disagree with you. A lot of those like weird like moments, like how are these kids running off? How are they by themselves out in the woods? Yeah, I grew up like that, so I don't know. But I grew up with a single parent where my mother had passed away at a very young age, so we were allowed to roam. I had 5 brothers and sisters, so these scary like somebody's gonna kill each other moments, they actually happen. Like they happen. My brother's just like, oh god, like I'm surprised he didn't kill her. Like it almost just happened just right then.
Oh Lord.
whatever emotions or stuff, so
Yeah.
you can relate to it in that sense. With the exception of we were acting out and acting badly, but we still had emotions.
Yeah.
Henry
And a conscience.
had no empathy or
Mhm.
for another. He was truly narcissistic, which you find, especially in a very young child, a strange behavior to have. He cannot sympathize or empathize with even his mother or his
Mhm.
father or
Anyone.
his sister or his younger brother. That nothing. And they can play it off because they're super nice and they can trick people, but they really don't feel things. So,
Yeah.
and it's to see that in a younger character, like 9, 10, 11,
So you would recommend this?
And it's
yeah,
just
4.5 stars out of 5.
oh
Wow.
wow. It's weird. The other weird feeling that I had, and you just brought it up perfectly, is that at the end of the film, the world is a better place because of her actions. But I feel really weird thinking that and saying that about a 12-year-old.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't, nothing feels good.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah, it's so weird. But anyway, but yeah, that's a great point.
I think this movie, this is the third time I've seen it, and it's the best. I think it's the best. I've enjoyed it the most this time. The acting is spot on. There's a few flaws. The dialogue was a problem with many reviewers when I went back. Many said, would 12, 13-year-old kids speak this way? They speak too properly. They're too serious. And actually, there was a kid here, the other day watching a few scenes, and he actually said that same thing. So I don't know. I'd say some kids do speak that way. This was a serious film, so of course they would say stuff like that. I think it's a thrilling film. I think you don't know what's going to happen next. Like you said, how will this film end? How are you going to get rid of a 12-year-old kid? Is it going to be committed? He's going to be killed, or he's going to continue? One of the three. And I think they did a well job. And like I think I said with Breakdown, if I had written and directed and been a part of this movie, I would be proud to be a part of this movie. So I do recommend this, The Good Son, if people want to check it out.
All right,
And it's
good.
only an hour and 27 minutes.
That's the best part. Best part. 90 minutes, all we need.
Katie was saying she thinks the greatest thing about this movie, maybe what many others hate, most everyone walked away feeling uncomfortable and had to confront those feelings. What would I do? Very good point, Katie.
That's an excellent point. I felt very uncomfortable.
So went and lived by the I ain't got no kids.
You were like, oh,
I'm being facetious. Like I'm joking. It's a good thought. It's a good thought. It's a fleeting thought, but it does happen.
So where are we next week?
So next week we have one of your favorite filmmakers.
Is it Blockbuster May?
Blockbuster May. So we have the first blockbuster is M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. One of your favorite movies, right?
Number 1.
Oh, so your favorite movie
is The Village?
Number 1.
Now here, this will be interesting. I've seen The Village one time. I didn't like it at the time. And Jake knew so I'm going to go in.
I didn't like it either, Jake.
I'm going in open-minded.
I didn't like it either.
I've heard you either love it or you hate it. And I love it, and I don't care who else hates it.
I'm going in, and you know what?
But that's good. We need this.
I'm going in with an open mind. So if anyone wants to join The Village next week, please tune in for that.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll be back next week with The Village. I couldn't be more excited. I might go watch it right now.
Oh, and we do have the late date show coming up. What time are we doing now?
I think 11:11.
11:11. So we're going to do the late date show at 11:11 tonight.
Where are you?
It would be 12:11 your time.
Okay, all right. I was like,
See, when you-
11 hours.
it's weird when you said that earlier.
There you go.
I was like,
We are in Central.
yeah, we're in a
Standard
different time zone. That's
Yeah.
right.
is that why? Like, because it was like 10 or 11:30, and I'm like, or 10:30. I'm like, where are they?
Is it 11:30?
Wait.
Is it 11:30
Oh,
where
wait
you
a
are?
second. When we said we were going to do this show at a certain time, we forgot to take into account that he's an hour.
Yeah, I know, because it was 11. It was 10:35, and I was like,
Oh,
I text you, and I'm like, where are you guys?
Is it 11? Is it 11:30?
It's 11. It's 11:37.
It's
10:37
Yeah,
here.
that's hey. You didn't win for that. Like,
Maybe that's why.
that is.
Even when I posted everywhere, I totally forgot.
Maybe that's why when I said I had to be off at 11:30, you were like, "Oh,
I was like 11:30.
did you want to do 2 shows?"
I was like, it's only like 10.
I'm like, "That's like 20 minutes from now. What are you talking about?" All right. Anyway, well, we'll be back next week, hopefully Thursday, Eastern Standard Time,
Yes.
with The Village at probably 4 or 10 o'clock. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So.
Figured it out.
But that'll do it for this episode of Adam and Jake and Lana on the Movies. I'm Jake.
I'm Adam.
I'm Lana.
We will see you next week, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Happy May.